That box. It's been sitting there over a year. Let's do something with it. Well, today we're going to put together my Christmas present from last year. Not this last year, but the year before. 2017. My wife got me this cool shooting tree that you assemble yourself. It comes with the plates, AR 500 steel, and these, I think these are just mild steel pipes. And the rest of it you build yourself. I've had this sitting around all this time, and several times last year I started to put it together. I went and bought the steel right after she bought it for me, but I've never actually got around to building it. So I thought today would be a great day to throw this together and see how it turns out. What do I... It'll fit. So I need to figure out how long this needs to be. How much space do each one of these need to be able to swing correctly. Ugh! Makes it pretty easy to get in and out. Like this at 8, 16, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 of these? Oh, got one in my pocket, dummy. I don't think this has to be super precise. And I think I'm going to tack these in place and try it before I weld them. But that looks like it'll work. Now only weld these on one side like that. That way, if I need to break them loose, all you do is twist that way and those will pop right off. If you tack them on both sides, it's more permanent, but boy is it hard to get off if you want to. You usually wind up having to grind them. Perfect. I like it. It's welded up. I wanted to get this part together first to figure out how high I'm working with here before I build the stand, so I know how high this needs to be for a proper shooting height, because I think you want this at least a foot or two off the ground. As much as I'd like to keep these safety glasses on, when I have them on, I just can't really see what I'm welding very well, so off with the safety glasses. And I have one of those auto darkening helmets, but it's a Harbor Freight thing, and I don't know, I don't like it very much. I don't know if it's just the batteries are getting crappy in it or what, but it's just not performing real well. A tip if you're welding something like this, if you've already tacked it on this side, don't go ahead and weld that side. Put some other tacks here on the other side. Otherwise, as you weld this thing will move on you, and then you'll have a gap, or, you know, that's true for pretty much anything you're welding. Tack it in several spots. That way it won't move on you while you're doing this. Because as soon as you put some heat all on one side, sure as heck that thing will warp and pop out of place on you. Back in high school, I was planning on trying to get into the welding profession. I took every welding class I could get my hands on. Then about midway through my junior year, that all changed. Got my ham radio license and discovered this whole world of electronics. I was always kind of interested in electronics, but wasn't really sure how to get into it. And then I just happened to meet the right people at the right time and kind of changed the whole direction of my life. But I used to actually be fairly decent at welding. I'm not as good anymore. To me, it's one of those skills, if you don't practice quite often, you kind of lose it to a certain degree. But let's see how I do on this. I'm not going to go too crazy welding these. Not like these are holding a dump truck bed on or anything. So, okay first weld. See how I do on the rest of them. Help when things are moving. Another reason I kind of decided not to go into welding is inevitably, I don't care how careful I think I am, I don't know what it is about me, but I'll weld something, it'll still be cherry red, and I'll reach down and grab it. I don't know what's wrong with me, but so I decided probably welding is not the field I need to go into if I want to ever have any skin on my hands. See, I almost did it there, almost grabbed that. Knowing it's hot. Might as well just leave that in there. Not only works pretty good for wood in the air or sawdust in the air, takes a lot of this smoke out of the air too. So we're back out here in the shop today, and I know yesterday I said I was probably just going to fix this at a 15-degree angle on the base and leave it. But I thought about it overnight, and I don't really like that idea. So I'm going to try putting a hinge base on it with a brace coming back, just so we can play with this angle and get it right. Maybe once I get it right, we'll go ahead and affix it in a permanent location. But want to be able to play with this a little bit first. So it won't take too much effort to put a hinge on the bottom of this and a brace coming back. And so we'll do it this way. And I figured out I'm going to cut it about there. I think this is about 5 foot 9 inches or 10, somewhere in there. Just trying to determine whether I think that top one's too high or not. But I think that'll be okay. It's about head level and then on down. I'm not sure normally how these are set up, you know, what height they are. It probably would have helped to go look that up ahead of time, but I think this will be okay. And one thing I'm kind of trying to figure out is how big this base needs to be. I'm guessing maybe 2 feet wide, 3 feet, 30 inches long, something like that. Because you can always throw some sandbags on it to weight it down. I'm a little hesitant to use this. I think this is, yeah, a 1/4 inch angle iron for a base. And provide a lot of weight. It just seems like such a waste of metal. But that's what I've got on hand. I do have some smaller stuff, but we'll just go ahead and use this stuff. Let's see if I can get away with this without drilling a pilot hole. I doubt it. Let's weld this one side up before I break it off of there. Now I really got to remember not to touch it. I'm terrible about wearing gloves. That was almost a headache. See, I already tried to do it. Before I weld it up. It's like so. Son of a dog biscuit. Ugh. This is in here backwards. Dang nabbit. So, unfortunately, this is in here backwards from what I was planning on. I think I can still turn it around. Not too much problem. Getting that bolt back in is going to be fun. How did that get in there so tight? Too hot to grab? Oh, heck yeah. I wish somebody would have spotted that before I put that in. Oh, you know what? That sitting there for 5 seconds didn't cool it off any, surprisingly. I know. Use the punch that's sitting in your hand, dummy. I should go get a bolt that's cooler. Where would the excitement in that be? There we go. Lean it back this way. We're going to have this come down, and this is tilted back just a few degrees right there. So I'm going to put this pin in, weld that pin in there, and have this to where it can slide in and out with a lockdown right here. And should be able to adjust the angle to whatever we want. Again, I don't need it tilted back any further than it's at, so right about there should be good to weld that. In fact, I think I'll go ahead and weld that right there. And then we'll make a pivot point. Actually, I think I'll put that pivot point on down there first before I attach this. But anyway, just to give you an idea of what I'm trying to do here, I may trim this down a little bit so it fits in there a little better too. Well, I think we're coming down the home stretch here. So if I can avoid grabbing anything hot. At this point, pretty much everything besides the main frame has something hot on it. Boy, that slid really easy in there before. What did I do? There we go. That figures. This was all lined up before. And of course, as soon as I weld that, something moves. You can see that's not quite lined up. I think a little brute force, and we can bend it to get where we need to go. It's a little warm. There we go. See if I can get a tack on that. Yeah, I need to scoot this thing over a little bit so I can weld the other side. Well, it moves for a second. If a bigger hammer doesn't work, get a bigger lever. Okay. In theory, it should be able to move. There we go. I like it. All I gotta do is weld up the rest of this base and I'm done. Well, I'm gonna use this angle finder thing I got off of Amazon some time back. I thought it was gonna be small. It turned out to be this big monstrous thing. I really haven't used it for much. I'm trying to remember what number I said. Was it 15 degrees? I think 15. That's about 15 there. I'm curious if these are hit. We'll use this as our projectile. May have to go just a little steeper. That's the reason we put it on an adjustment, right? I already see one thing. I would have done different. I don't know if this is going to show up, but these do not swing out a full 90 degrees. It's probably about 80 degrees, probably about 10 degrees off. And now I remember I wanted just a next size down angle iron, but the shop didn't have any that day, so I wound up getting this. The way I could fix this is grind this little part down, maybe 1/4 of an inch. I'm not really sure it's going to matter all that much.